Um, my name is Pearl, and welcome to my channel. Welcome back, everyone, to the second week of Artfight. If you don't know what Artfight is, or you missed last week, I suggest stopping to check out my first video. Now let's get straight to my first victim of the week. My first victim is a character by the name of Sven by Kinosis, who is actually an artist that I've been following for quite a while now. So I'm really happy to have some kind of, not an opportunity, but more of an incentive to be able to draw one of their OCs. Sven is a very, very well designed character, as you can see. He literally has snake eyes, like literally. It makes me jealous because I can't copy a design like this because it is so, so unique that I would immediately get clocked for it, I think. Kenosis has many, many interesting OCs with very cool designs and very, very cool lore, so I do recommend giving them a follow. Now let's go ahead and start the speed paint. For this piece, I had a vision. I wanted something cool, I wanted something dramatic. So I have Sven kind of leaning up against some kind of sofa, just chilling out, looking cool, looking a little mischievous. And I really wanted to have this dramatic lighting coming from the left side. And you'll see when I finish that it didn't turn out quite how I imagined it. That's just, you know, just that just says something about my skill set, I guess. But I think it turned out good enough. Anyways, as always, starting off with a sketch that's already mostly figured out, mostly because, like I said in my first video, I tend to start recording after I figure out the sketch because I do a lot of moving around and it's honestly a mess. It's very chaotic. Lots of references, lots of finicking around, so I like to start after I have a composition that I like. So here we are lining, not really lining, but doing a cleanups version of the sketch. Doing the snake, the face, the hair, and all that. And I love the snake in this piece. I think it's really cool. I think it's cool that the eye is kind of looking at the camera, like he's looking at the camera because that is his eye. Um, I don't know, the snake is a really, really cool part of the design. I'm such a big fan. I'm going ahead and lining, again, not lining, cleaning up, I guess, the body, figuring out how the shoulder rests, doing their outfit. It is a shame that I wasn't able to include all of his outfit because I think his whole design is very cool, but I did end up cutting it off here. Um, the last time I did a full body, the clip ended up being 7 hours long, so I decided to pace myself, not pace myself, but like cut myself some slack. As you can see, every so often pulling up a reference here, unsure who the artist is. I will always encourage referencing, whether you're referencing art of an art style that you like or real life references. References are very, very important. I will always endorse them. Never trace unless you're learning, and never take credit if you do trace. In this portion, I thought that it looked better flipped, but I later realized that it would make no sense to flip it because there are a lot of parts of his designs that are specifically on the, I guess, for on our right side that we're looking at. So I was like, what the hell am I doing? This is literally going to mess up a lot of the elements. So I decided to flip it back and behave myself. Now we darken up the lines and start with the flat coloring. Here I really wanted to do some fancy rendering where a couple years ago, or maybe 4 years ago or so, I would kind of color over the line art and it would really, that's where I would rendering and do all the detail and clean up everything. And just like I realized then, I realized that it was way too much work. So I went ahead and pushed the line art under, I pushed the flat coloring under the line art again and went ahead and just filled everything in. I was under the impression that I'd be cleaning up everything in the rendering process of it. So I went ahead and just was really messy with this whole thing. I am color picking directly from the swatches that the creator left on the side, so if the colors look a little bit off compared to their art, it's probably because they did render it way better than I did. So there's that. I am in love with Sven's palette. It is so cohesive and so pleasing to the eye. Here I'm going ahead on a layer on top of the line art and drawing over all of the messiness because again, I keep saying line art, but it isn't really line art. It was just a cleaner sketch. So I went ahead and colored over the sketch to try and clean it up a little bit. But then I decided for some reason to lower the opacity of this layer, and then that just again revealed the messiness underneath. I don't know what I was thinking. Honest to God, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons while drawing this, so um, while finishing this, I mean. So I was very distracted and I was also very close to giving up. Now I move into the quote unquote rendering here where we darken up places where I think needs warmth or I think that would have shadow and lightening up places where I think the light would touch. Like I said before, I really wanted to have dramatic lighting for this piece. I am not very good at lighting or shadow or honestly, this realistic detail, not my thing. Something I definitely need to work on a little bit. So it did end up looking not as nice, not as, I don't know, not as out there as I wanted it to look. It looked I don't know. It looks bad is what I'm getting at, I guess. But I went ahead. Usually what you would do is put a dark overlay on top of everything and kind of cut out the parts that you think would have light, blur it out a little bit, and then I went ahead with a few other layers to darken up some shadow in some places like under the snake and in parts where light wouldn't touch at all. For the background, I wanted to keep it a shadowy, dark place, but still give it something interesting. So I went ahead and just added a bit of gradients in the back, a little bit of lighting in the front, like a glow, some variations of color in the background. Played around with the overlays, and then, you know what, I called it done right there. This piece was definitely an example of me trying something that I thought would look really nice in my brain, but didn't end up looking that good on paper. In the end, I think Sven does look pretty cool here. I hope you can agree. Let's move on to our next victim. I mean, our next drawing. The next character is Donovan, who belongs to an online mutual of mine named Razor. I have been a fan of this design for a very long time but never really got the chance to draw him, I guess. I'm really excited to draw him this time. He has a lot of elements to the character that I really, really like, including a very large grin, long hair, and he has some vitiligo, which is something I haven't drawn in a while too. So I was very excited to get to him. Let's get straight to the speed paint. So for Donovan, I wanted to kind of give him this like cocky expression or like pose, I should say. One where he's just like leaning on his hand, looking down at you. He's probably making fun of you, that kind of thing. So that's what I went with. I, as always, already had a sketch figured out. I just went ahead and used some references for the hands. I struggled a bit with his face. It's a little bit embarrassing. Um, I I love a big grin. It's one of my favorite things in a character design. If you know me, if you know my art, a big grin is going to be there in all of my characters. So I had a lot of fun drawing Donovan's face. I did struggle with it for a bit, but I did get it in the end, and I think I think it turned out pretty well, pretty nicely. Another thing I struggled a lot with was with his hair for some reason. I always tend to struggle with long hair. Even though I like it a lot, character design, it is something I struggle with. I have an OC that is a little bit similar in design, and I also struggle with him. So I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe it's the long bang epidemic. I don't know. Once I was done with the cleanup sketch, I went ahead and laid on the flat colors as usual. I had a lot of fun with his skin because of the vitiligo, of course. It's something I haven't really done in a while. And I really like doing this kind of like patchiness, I guess, to make it look a little more realistic. I think it's very fun to do. When using black, I recommend not using a true black for the hair or for anything really. I usually use a shade that is similar to the palette, so a dark shade of red or maybe a dark shade of blue. This time I think I went for more of a grayish red. After his flat colors, I went ahead as always and did my very simple rendering process once again, warming up the skin, darkening places where I think shadow would be, lightening up places where I think light would be, and blending it out a little bit. For I think the remainder of my art fight attacks this week, I kind of stopped using a reference when it came to rendering and just kind of tried to apply what I've been practicing. Don't know if I succeeded or not, but it looks pretty good on Donovan, I think. His hair ended up being quite the mess, I think, but at this point, I just wanted to get this done because I was on a time crunch. I am going on a trip, or I should be on a trip right now, actually. But at the time of drawing this, I was preparing to get on a trip, so I was trying to get a few drawings done and out beforehand. For his background, I did something simple as always. I went ahead and did a dark background with a kind of red glow in the center. Those like red eyes that kind of insinuate his power, I think. I did a little effect on them that kind of made them a little pixelized. I thought that looked really cool. Um, and that's pretty much all I did. That he's pretty much done here. I I think this drawing ended up really nice. Ray ended up liking it a lot, I think. Um, for a while, I kind of had this thing where I was like, no, this doesn't look good. No, yeah, it looks good. No, it doesn't look good. And in the end, it turned out to look good. So if you have a voice in your head telling you that something looks like, I was about to curse, something looks bad, give it a chance, fight through it, and it'll probably end up looking good. Now then, let's move on to the final character of the video. The final character included in this video is a character named Dorian, who also belongs to a very, very dear friend of mine, who goes by Nazanoya online. Dorian is a very fun, but also simple at the same time design. I think her hair is really her focal point, the kind of watery droplets it has and the beautiful like lighting coloring it has. It's really nice, and I love her eyelashes as well. Dorian is more bratty and vulgar and rude, and I do tend to like those characters as well, so I was excited to draw her too. Let's get into the speed paint. As always, started off with a sketch already done. Dorian, I had a lot of trouble with because I had a vision when it came to her pose, but every time I tried something, it ended up being, not working out, and I didn't really have the time to finick around with it, so I decided to just scrap everything I had. It was plans for like full body type stuff and just went for a simple headshot like I've been doing for some of the other attacks. She has this really snarky expression on her face. I think it's really cute. She looks pissed. Maybe someone said something to her. Maybe someone annoyed her in some way. She's just like flipping them off and looking really pissed about it. Say Dorian's hair was a little difficult, very fun, but a little difficult. I think I definitely put a lot more detail in it and a lot more layering than I usually would in a character design. I was referencing a different sketch off camera to try and get the hair as perfect as possible, struggling with each curl, but I think it turned out really cute. I tried my best to stay accurate to the shape of her hair generally, and every curl and stuff. Hands have always been kind of a difficult thing to draw, but for some reason, when it comes to, I think peace signs and flipping people off, that is the easiest position of the hands that I can do. I gave her a sharp nail, like a claw. I like drawing claws. I think it's really fun. I think it's easy. Now, Dorian's hair was the big, like, focal point that I really wanted to nail here. The remainder of her design is very simple, in my opinion. The the center of attention is her hair, which has all this like gradient of blues and these oranges and purples and reds in it. So I went ahead and started with the base color of just this bright, what is this, turquoise cyan, one of those, I think cyan, it's bright cyan, did a gradient of dark on the top, went ahead and for each curl lightened it up where it kind of looks like a little wave. I think that's a really cute detail, and went ahead and tried my best to do the glow. Now, when it comes to lighting, of course, I've mentioned this before, not my forte, not my favorite thing to do, but I tried my best to replicate the effects that my friends did here. She's so good, guys. She's amazing. Please do support her. Check her out on Artfight, attack her. She has some wonderful essays that are a lot of fun to draw. I went ahead and just color picked different colors from her hair. I used this like dark red and then a bright red, then I went on to orange, and then I went on to yellow and used a motion blur to try and give it a little bit of a shine, I guess, and an add layer. Hopefully it looks similar. I'm not sure if I got the effect across, but I did try my very best. Afterwards, went ahead with the usual rendering, simple rendering process. Her hair was very simple, thankfully, to shade because I didn't have to run over everything with different strokes and make it look like there's strands because her hair is water, I'm pretty sure. And because of the big effect that is kind of everywhere, it made it hard for me to put shadow there, which means I didn't have to put shadow there, which I was very thankful for. Did some highlights around to give it some more points of interest. And this really cute chat bubble to kind of, I guess, emulate what she's feeling. Maybe she's surprised at something someone said and she's flipping them off accordingly. For the background, once again, very simple, just a gradient, very small gradient, and a simple shape in the background. Went ahead and gave her an outline, and she was complete too. Dorian was a joy to draw. I was really excited to draw her. I was really excited that I got it done and that it looks as good as it does. I'm very satisfied with it. My friend is very satisfied with it. So hopefully that means you're also satisfied with it. That is all 3 of my attacks for this week. I did actually get another one done, but I completely forgot to record it, and I'm actually really upset about it. If you're interested, go ahead and check it out on my Instagram or on my Artfight because I'm very proud of it and I'm really sad I didn't record it. I had a blast doing all these characters as always. Here's where I would say to join me back next week for week 3, but I will not be here. For week 3, I will be on vacation, so no drawing will be happening, and therefore no video will be happening. But don't worry, for week 4 and for the final days of our fight, I will be back and I'll be finishing up some more attacks and also trying my hand at a mass attack, hopefully, if I have the time. So if you're interested in anything like that or in any future videos past Art Fight, Please do subscribe, it would mean a lot to me. And that's it for this video. I'll see you all when I get back. Bye bye.